Hi guys, and welcome back to Hilltop Farm, and welcome to another one of my soapboxes. And this, I hope, no pun intended, is going to ruffle some feathers with, well, I don't hope it ruffles feathers. I think it's going to ruffle some feathers, and I hope I don't offend anyone that's watching. But it's just something I feel strongly about. So, you know, just let me ramble, okay? But I hope you like the joke about ruffling feathers, because this week's soapbox is about ducks. Yep, ducks. And I've got a question for you. How many of you out there treat your ducks like they're chickens? I bet you there's a few, because I see a few when I watch other homesteaders on YouTube. Not all, I grant you, but some. They treat their ducks like chickens. Generally, these people aren't people that have a flock of chickens and a flock of ducks. They're people that seem to have a flock of birds, and 2 or 3 of them are ducks. So rather than give the ducks separate quarters, the ducks live with the chickens. And I hate that. I absolutely hate that, because I don't think that's fair. Ducks are water birds. Okay? And the number of times I have heard people, particularly with Indian runners, and we breed Indian runners, right? But people will say to you, oh, they don't need a pond, right? As long as they've got a water dish that's big enough to stick their face in, because they need to be able to, you know, clear out their nostrils and the tubes in their head, and which is true, they do need to do that. But they say as long as that's what they've got, then they're fine. But I thought one of the things, I should say, that we homesteaders believe in is animal rights. We don't believe that a pig should live on a concrete floor inside a building in a pen that's so small it can't turn around. It can survive like that. That's not an issue. But we as homesteaders don't believe it's fair for the pig to do that. It's not how nature intended. It's not a happy pig. So we put them out on a bit of pasture, or even just in a pen. And they have shelter, and they have the sun on their backs, and they have some muddy, swampy bit where they roll around and get disgusting and filthy, and they love it. And that's what we as homesteaders believe the pigs deserve, and that's what we try and give them. Okay? You put a cow inside a building 24/7 in a pen that confines it, and feed it on grain only. It'll survive. That's all it needs. It's going to be okay. Is it happy? Is it as nature intended? Or should it be out in pasture, eating grass, feeling the sun on its back, smelling the fresh air, wandering around? This is what we as homesteaders believe they deserve, and that's what we try and give them. Now, this is true for chickens. Do we think that they should be, 3 of them in a cage this size, inside a building, never see the light of day, never be able to dust bath, to get eggs out of them? They survive like that, but are they happy? No. And yet the duck, which is a waterfowl, the one thing that they require and they love and makes them happy is water. And yet so many homesteaders, it's the one thing they deprive them of. When have you ever, in a wild state, seen a duck living with chickens? Ever. It doesn't happen. Now I know chickens aren't native to most countries. But most countries have game birds. Non-water game birds. Most people have, most countries have quail or pheasant or, you know, these sorts of birds. You don't see the local ducks hanging out with them, though, do you? The ducks are over on the pond. Now we as homesteaders, we would love to have the room to have a massive lake for them to all swim around on. I think that would just be heaven. But we don't. And in our duck enclosure, we have a very deep bucket that they can drink out of, and they can clean their faces, and they do all that. And that's what we provide in their enclosure, because there's no room in there really to have anything else. But outside their enclosure, we have, like lots of other people do, a kiddie's pool. And every morning, sun up, they get let out. One of the first things they do is dive in the pool. No matter how cold it is, it's one of the first things they do. And although everyone will tell you, oh, Indian runners aren't all that keen on swimming and pond, ours spend at least half their time in there. I can't imagine depriving them of it. I think they would be extremely miserable. And you will see this if you watch our Across the Duck Pond series. You will see, once we hatch ducklings, once they're a few days old, part of our daily routine is the ducklings have a bath. And as I say, when they're a few days old, they start in the kitchen sink. And then they progress to the bathtub. And once they're too big for the bathtub, well, then they're in a pen outside and they can have access to the pond. Well, the kiddie's bath. Now I think that's what they deserve. And I want you to watch this and tell me if you think they're having a good time. Now, what did you think? I think there couldn't be anything more natural than that, and I think it's wonderful. And we're talking about brand new, under $20. This paddling pool thing is, right? If you get one at a garage sale or a car boot sale, something like that, you get it for a couple of bucks. You know? And that sort of investment people are prepared to do for their ducks. If you can't provide them with the sort of environment that they need don't have them. I know, for example, and I'm going to name here, but Patea from Appalachia's Homestead. Okay, she has a flock of khaki Campbells. Right? Now I understand with her that she has the extremely cold winters and she doesn't provide them with access to a bath or a pond like that in winter. I understand that. It freezes, you know, and that would just become a nightmare. It's hard. She's got enough work on her hands trying to keep the water bowls for all the stock, all the livestock, just at a point where they can drink it without worrying about a pond for ducks. And I understand, in a natural situation, the ducks wouldn't be there. You know, they'd fly to a warmer climate and not have to worry about frozen ponds. So I understand where she's coming from. But once the weather warms up, she gives them access to a pond. Well, I'm 99% certain it was her. I've seen it. So they can swim about. And if I'm wrong, well then I'll have obviously offended Patea, and I'm sorry. But I'm pretty sure that she is one that does give them access to a pond when it's not, you know, freezing temperatures. And as I say, if I do offend you, I'm sorry. But it is something I feel strongly about. I think we as homesteaders, if we can't be giving our animals what they're entitled to, excuse me, got an oncoming of a cold and I can feel it's going to be a nasty one, so bear with me. I'm on day one. I woke up with it this morning, but one of my daughters has been as sick as a dog for the last week, and my wife's been holding it at bay for about the same length of time. I thought I was fine, but I've woken up this morning with it, so. But anyway, what was I saying? Oh yes, I think as homesteaders it's our duty to set an example. So it's why we don't buy meat and eggs and things like that from companies that don't treat the animals the way we feel they should be treated. And it's the one thing I see consistently, time and time again, not from everyone, but from a large percentage of homesteaders when I'm watching their videos, is they stick the ducks in with the chickens and they treat them like a chicken and they fob you off by telling you, oh, they don't mind, they thrive perfectly well, as long as they've got a deep bucket of water, that's all they want. And the extreme ones will actually turn around and say, oh, even if you give them something to swim in, they hardly ever go in it. Well, my argument is, well, yeah, that's a choice. You know, you can't take a battery hen out of a cage, stick her in the middle of a paddock and expect her to behave normally for some time, and even then she'll never be totally normal if she's spent any length of time as a battery hen. You know, and likewise, pigs spent, you know, 2 or 3 years breeding, stuck in a pen in a cage that's tiny, and you put it outside, it won't know what to do, it won't know how to behave. It'll get there. Slowly over time it'll acclimatise to its new environment and it will get used to it and it will behave as close to normal as it possibly can. But you see, these ducks are in the same position. They will never behave totally like ducks because they've never been treated like ducks. But believe me, when you have them from hatchlings and it's what they're used to, strangely enough, they actually behave like ducks. So that's my rant for this week. Treat your ducks like ducks, or don't have them, just have the chickens instead. Alright, so that's the way I feel, and our ducks seem to be happy. So hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any other videos. Give us a big thumbs up if you like this video or you agree with this video. If you disagree, you can leave a comment in the comments below telling me why you disagree, but I think I've covered anything that you are going to say. And for the most part, I probably will disagree with you anyway, because a duck is a duck is a duck. They like a pond. Okay. So, it's goodbye from Hilltop Farm for this week. See ya!